Mai 1995, Afrique orientale. Une route aux environs de Kampala en Ouganda. Au nord, c'est le Soudan. À l'ouest, l'ex-Zaïre. Et au sud-ouest, le Rwanda. En comparaison avec ses voisins, l'Ouganda n'est pas le pays le plus démuni de la région, mais il est certainement le plus stable. Pour les économistes occidentaux, cette ancienne colonie britannique fait figure de bon élève, mais ses performances restent très relatives. L'Ouganda est un pays pauvre. L'Ouganda est profondément dépendant des prêts au développement et fortement endetté. Mais sa récente conversion à la libre entreprise en fait un modèle pour son principal créancier, la Banque mondiale. Juin 1995, Washington, quartier général de la Banque entend et crée un Fonds monétaire international. C'est l'Europe européenne et est le principal organisme tiers-monde. La banque, 80, elle est sous le contrôle plus riche, en particulier des qui si on nomme dans cas pour James ou Australien. Fonction
that I'm here because I think that the issue in the world, social nation of poverty, I think issues in the world, environment, and of health.
Wolf incarne de la banque, bien obligé de considérer de cette ultra-libérale des années 80. En Afrique, plus du programme ont échoué. La nouvelle ligne, 7000 fonctionnaires du haut anarchie.
In a very pleasant world, everybody could do what they. That world is over. Because such a good.
Chimadaka, chargé d'animer la musique.
But there is some conditions that are going to have to go. We're going to have a hard in terms of explaining how the world we live is not going.
Look at I mean, what was the 9 months the Minister of Finance and said, and the country to him, colleagues, lending program. And I don't want none of these things. Now, since, in fact, program has changed. We know that President when Wolfen is he wants more.
How an integration.
Let me come back.
How we got? He's going to come. I in New York. He in his suite. Out there with my boy. Most of us some educating. Mr. is going to say, I'm yelling at these last years. I want roads. Winston's going to be in 3 months. He's going to say, why the hell doing what an intelligent man wants to say? I'm going to sit. I'm going to take it. I'm going to get. I'll take it. I'm going to sit there. Well, I got a bunch working for. Listen, enough insulting. I don't want from now to be in a situation. Miss 70 comes to the hell of my.
That's fine. But
no answer.
But what I hear.
No, answer. None of this stuff.
What to?
Can I love it over you? We're goddamn to do, Mr. That's one.
Yep.
Mayanji, entre des finances. Il se presse de la banque une longue expertise conquise pour le POT, soit 410 millions de dollars de prêt.
Very good to see you. How are you? Nice to see you the other day.
À la banque, l'Américain Kim Jacobs a rang de vice-président chargé des engagements en Afrique. Dans ce monde qui a changé, dont parle Jim Adams, la banque exige désormais une dose de social.
It's a pleasure to see you here in Washington.
Thank you so much for what you're doing for us in Uganda, but we've had a long meeting with him for about 2 hours, I think. So I thought we should brief you, and then if anything you want to raise...
It's funny, you keep attracting these guys back to work on Uganda for a long time in the past. All right? Look, the way this has been reported to me is not so much that you all are pro, have a high priority for infrastructure, but you have sort of a negative priority for some of the other stuff that we've been involved with for a long time. For instance, primary schooling and basic health and that like. Is that correct?
No, sir. I think if one is forced, is it infrastructure now, roads, or primary schools, primary education. If just either or, then he would say probably at this juncture would say, let's have roads first.
It's not a question of primary school or secondary, tertiary, vocational. It's a question of the balance, always.
Okay.
And we need to discuss this because, you know, the way we look at it, the kids aren't getting educated. You got a health problem in Uganda that is very, very serious.
Right.
We've got the feeder roads are not being maintained. I mean, if these all were happening, I would, or they were gilt-edged or something, we would definitely, but these are the sort of the development issues.
Now, you see, instead of pushing one area, possibly to material neglect of the other, we should try and push them together. What's necessary, particularly from the point of view potential growth in the economy. You found that as a matter of experience now, that however number of how many schools you take primary schools, learning to read the Bible and the local newspapers, that will not help us to take off. We can go on growing coffee, but that won't help us really to move into the, so you feel like the secondary phase of industry, of development.
No, well, you can't go to the other side without this base.
But
I'm saying that if the people don't know how to read and write and count and add and subtract, they're not going to be able to engage in the modern age. That's all there is to it. That's my going-in position, and I want you to understand that that is a going-in position.
I agree with you.
And I've got a stack of evidence, and you're going to have to overcome that evidence if you're going to win this argument.
Un cran plus haut et à l'heure du thé. Le président de la Banque mondiale, James Wolfensohn, rencontre Yoweri Museveni, l'ex-guerriero, devenu dirigeant de l'Ouganda.
So, Your Excellency, I think you got my letter.
I did indeed.
I think the main bottleneck now to our development are the roads. See, if the roads were open, the major ones and the feeder ones, then a number of things would happen. First of all, the peasants would be able to market their crops.
Right.
Then the traders would be able to easily carry goods to the rural areas. Then also the investors would find it easier to go up country and invest there. So roads go into everything. They affect tourism. Tourists don't want to bump on roads for 20 hours. They want to drive smoothly and go back to the towns. So they affect everything.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. If you take roads, you must maintain them. And I think what we did previously was to help on the road maintenance. And we're now looking at the new road program.
In my previous job of fighting,
Yes.
I was used to prioritization. It was our friend Mao Zedong who told us that to hit with both arms
Yes.
in two directions at the same time
Yes.
is bad fighting.
Yes.
You would rather fold your arms and you concentrate your blow
Yes.
in one area
Yes.
and achieve a target.
Obviously, we agree that roads are essential for development. The question of whether it's the only thing you do or whether it's the first thing you do, and it's clear now, I think, as a matter of priority that we should take a look at it. So my guess is you'll get your way, which I think you're used to doing.
No,
We'll have a lot of undereducated people using the roads.
no problem. They will, once they have got incomes.
Yeah, then they'll let
Yes.
Yoweri Museveni a participé activement à la résistance contre la dictature d'Idi Amin Dada. Ce lecteur de Lénine, Frantz Fanon et Mao a pris le pouvoir en 1986 à la tête de l'armée de résistance nationale. Il gagne ici les premières élections présidentielles libres dans des conditions de quasi-plébiscite. Mais son pouvoir est cependant menacé par une guerre civile larvée qui ravage le nord du pays. Des rebelles, fidèles au précédent régime et basés au Soudan, défient son armée. Le coût d'entretien et d'équipement des troupes gouvernementales augmente sans cesse. La stabilité et l'indépendance coûtent très cher. Kampala, ministère des Finances. Réunion d'urgence pour le Britannique Brian Faulkner, l'homme de la banque en Ouganda.
Very late. Well, it's hard going through that water, I tell you. Sorry for that. No, I got caught up in this rain. Yeah, and I was, I've never seen anything quite
That's a
like
bit of a sort of blessing, but
Yes.
rain. How are you keeping?
Very well, thank you.
How?
Yeah, anyway, I only make the point to you, Minister, that donors will look, and I'm expressing some views of donors here, not just to the World Bank, okay, will
La banque coordonne et contrôle les aides au développement de pays à pays. Elle dispose de ce fait d'un droit de regard sur la politique intérieure et étrangère des pays emprunteurs.
Various donors are obviously cognizant of the problems that your country faces, especially in the north. But I have urged the Secretary of Defense in writing, and I've also talked to your Permanent Secretary, Secretary of the Treasury, to address two issues with the donors. One is the level of defense expenditures and what it is that you see you're doing, okay? Because at the moment, nobody's saying anything and everybody's drawing their own conclusions. The second thing in that defense expenditure is the question of the demobilized soldiers. And I think you've got a problem in explaining to donors the fact that they have paid for demobilization packages, and some of these same people appear to be back in the armed services. And I urge you to deal with those issues in some way. I'm not telling you how to deal with it, but somehow one needs to sit down with donors and to map out. Okay.
Okay, I'm in a dilemma because, one, I don't want to see the British come and give us ammunition, see? Or send our soldiers to do the fighting for us. Right.
I just want to make you aware that there is starting to be some talk on donor side, okay? And there is a need to get to the table. I don't know whether it's the President who do it or whether it's Dr. Mbonye who should do it, but I'm trying to sow the seed that we need to address this issue.
Réunion budgétaire. Le ministre de la Défense exige du ministre des Finances les moyens que la pression internationale lui interdit de concéder, sous peine de compromettre tout le programme de prêt.
But, Mr. Chairman, I really must register my surprise at the attitude I find in this meeting about the soldiers. Because, forget the fighting, but their conditions of living now, as you know, there is a standing cabinet instruction that you handle the accommodation. I have not come here to press you for it, simply because I know the budgetary constraints we face. But for the last 10 years, we have been in power. Our soldiers live in shacks. They live like pigs. So for anyone really to talk of parity, and you talk of your secretaries and people like that, then we are going to make the demand. Can I finish?
Let him explain.
We shall demand.
Now, before you go further, I don't want to have the impression that we don't understand the difficult conditions under which soldiers are serving. We do. I don't want you to go with that impression because you say they're living black pigs. We don't care. We do. What I'm saying is this, that given the figures we have now, cut them from somewhere. That's what I'm saying.
I was assuring you, Mr. Minister of Finance, that we in defense share your in managing limited. That's why sacrifice that we have at the moment by accepting that fact. We have not been unreasonable.
Where we try to message.
Dans les villages du Nord, les rebelles kidnappent, pillent et tuent.
We want to swim us I think that's what I have.
Today, we gathered together the question of defence, and I think that's constant, extreme. That is today really new dialogue, because I think facing at the moment is danger of program goals would be the damage of the initiative that will be the development. One very part is the program. I don't intend that. Let me just point that transparency exists in other parts. It doesn't really in the defense.
Be flexible. Growth is of some of the old products we had who had power. They win the battle recently. They are coming through Sudan. We cannot allow never be like Somalia to be rest the national force. So much chaos, and it will never happen. So I would like beg your indulgence, understand that we have historical to deal with.
I do not have any quibble with you, Mr. President, about the ability. My concern is that easing areas of true items, it is not going good for the country.
It's not much. You could ask your Britain. I wish you could minister much he spends defending Britain the world as an island by a very big trench of water, but it's a lot of 17 million nothing. So I think really we should be excited about defense. It's not realistic.
Oh, would you? Okay. One, I would give you my, I'm holding my on me. There are 5 tonight. I didn't do it. 5, or number of
Brainer, représentant des pays donateurs, accentue la pression.
Time I talk, I put the same record back on. And I don't get an answer. I'm sort of playing to myself. When we DG meeting in Paris, we have a judge on the public expenditure. Sorry?
I'm looking at interjections in Parliament, but the World Bank doesn't seem to be.
The level of items in the budget, the quality of the budget is what is at question. Okay? Security is a very large item, okay? And I've acknowledged time and time again that it is not what is in the defense budget. It is the ratio or the proportion of defense which is in the budget, which is the problem.
What you need to look at is what the minister was giving you, the last column, the total expenditure as a percentage, the defense expenditure as a percentage of the total expenditure. Because you see, to move from 58 72 does not necessarily mark. You see, the whole budget keeps going up.
In the course of this discussion, you have told us that, in fact, the UPDF has acquired tanks in the course of the last year. This is the first information, as far as I know, to that effect, and these tanks were not, I think, forecast in last year's discussion. And you'll understand if we display an obsession with the size of the total budget and the impact of the defence budget on it, because we do contribute to it. We don't contribute to the defence budget. But if we don't ask about it, things in which we have a direct interest suffer, and our interests suffer too.
So there is a very genuine concern that the programme itself, if it continues this way and we don't have the dialogue, is not going to be supportable from the donor community.
I think it remains now for me to say thank you to everybody and to the Minister for coming and for the explanations you've given. But I want to say that, ask the question, who are you? This side of the chair, the table. You are our friends. Mr. Kokula, I say so. Uganda takes in the last analysis its own decisions.
No, we had that very unsatisfactory.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Nice to meet you.
We've actually met a couple of times.
Yeah.
Linda Shawker est le ministre britannique du développement.
I know we've got lots of Jims in the office. But...
L'ex-empire, quatrième marchand d'armes du monde, entretient des relations privilégiées avec l'Ouganda, comme avec l'ensemble des pays du Commonwealth.
Jim and Brian.
Sit with your back to the wall.
Right.
Good Ugandan tea.
I tell you the funniest thing yesterday, down on Museveni's farm, Rakatura, I watched the boys bring the tea bags out of the packet, and it said Kenyan tea bags. I had to laugh.
It was actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had to laugh.
Please, yes.
So, well, I gave him a good going over yesterday on money.
Yes?
Yes. I wasn't very kind. I was very firm.
It's not the time to be kind, actually.
No, it isn't. You have to be cruel to be kind in this sense. But I think he got the other messages. But he's absolutely adamant about security. And he's particularly determined to make these changes in the north. And therefore concerned that we should understand what he's about. What I don't think he knows is what's really happening to the money within the military budget. So I put a suggestion to him yesterday that he might appreciate just a little bit of help from some friends to sort this out. And whilst I offered our help, I think that help would come best from you, to be quite blunt. But we could help you with it and it to happen.
To be fair, I think you've laid the issues out correctly. I mean, security is a bigger problem now, and obviously he has a responsibility to deal with that. But I think what we simply have to press is that clearly the additional money that was put in security last year didn't help, and that should be one message, that money's not the answer alone.
He knows that. I'm sure he knows it. He was very open about the army having failed in north and central areas. He teased me somewhat about having... at our behest, or at the donor's behest, having reduced the size of the army, and now you've got to increase it again. But the whole time he accepted that it was a lack of training in the army, which was the crucial problem.
I'm a little interested, I mean, in terms of how he handled defense, except for my extensive experience as a cook in the United States Army. At the technical level, I think the problem I have on the bank side is I think as an issue, and as how it fits within the macro, we're quite comfortable. And we're quite prepared to talk about some of the options. But what we will need, and this is your point, I think we've got to be careful about what other donors involve, is that we will need the protection of being able to say, look, there is this real expertise, and we want your professionals to deal with this expertise, not with the bank. I mean, we can handle the transparency and the overall, but we're not able to bring in people to give them advice on what sort of equipment, what sort of training, and that sort of thing.
Well, that's why he really does need a good army budgeting man who understands equipment and army provision needs, but also understands the money side of it. We can offer somebody who would help from the Nairobi office, a Brit who's extremely good and wise. But what I think we need to do is to do this under the auspices of the World Bank. So keep pushing.
Welcome, Mr. Adams.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Sorry to bring you in the bush,
No, this is very nice.
but this is where I live. What are the donors saying? Are they saying that the Europeans were wrong to fight Hitler, and that as long as they were fighting Hitler, they should not get resources? I think that's the time they needed resources, when they were fighting Hitler, because Hitler was a danger to the human race. So what are they saying now? What are the donors saying? That it's bad to fight Idi Amin? We should have left Idi Amin in charge of the whole country? What are they saying exactly?
The first issue is simply making clear both the magnitude of the threat and why the government feels this level of expenditures is important. And so one of the concerns I have is this question of how some of these decisions about resource allocation can be brought to closure in a way that both the government is comfortable with and in a way that puts me in a position where I can make the case across the donor community about sustaining the large donor support for Uganda.
Don't these donors surely know something about constitutional governance on the one hand, and law and order on the other hand? Would they have it without order, without governance? Agents are additional. So any parliament would answer. It's in the parliament and they need to diffusion. Tell you a little bit of information. There are 30 mass graves in Luwe. Each of the graves contains more than 1,000 cows. That go about 1,000 cows, just Luwe area alone. These were extrajudicial. These we are fighting now. All the ones now wanting people in one corner of our country, saying that we should find money to help out. To say there are ways of doing it, that's the argument I listen to. But to say that that legitimate charity, expenditure, it's rendering your resource is not correct.
Frustration is sick love accept comments with the next $1 million year. This is what we do efficient thing. Something we can present sensible. What is I'm hemorrhaging? And what it said, let's make sure this all takes care of. That's not a good.
It has been got the almost amongst the donors, you hawks and the dove, and of course rinse of the hawks. I'm saying because I'm saying where and why, what are you going to do? You've got the others like which I push and American political agenda. Because it isn't going to.
La propriété, le compromis qui met mission tirée des grandes puissances. Et la budget ougandais, dépenses militaires incluses. Livrer les pays peu économiquement, du marché principe est bénéfique pour tous. C'est aujourd'hui sur vers majeur thème de prêt, l'endettement pauvre, qui se chiffre de milliards de dollars en permanence résultat de la croissance. De la banque Jensen, première chaîne. Au dérive qui viennent porte une nouvelle étudie un nouveau production dont pour aux élèves.
Got the president of one of the small branches, commercial bank here.
Yeah, right. Please don't say that. Anything but that. Running around. Again, I've just come out of the banking.
Please allow us to present this small gift.
We're not saints, not even the World Bank. Although I feel I'm a saint. And so does Brian. And so does Kim, he probably is. But the fact is that there is a need to make sure that both sides are malleable and ready for this new engagement. I don't doubt that when there is an adjustment process, I don't doubt it at all that an adjustment process hurts some and helps others. That's the nature of adjustment. That you cannot compete internationally and you cannot develop your society unless you have some framework within which it can work. Now, you can say that our policies are wrong. You can say that some structural adjustment program is not correct. But the notion, the simplistic notion that all structural adjustment is wrong, we could sit here and have a seminar on it. I have to tell you that there are some examples of structural adjustment which work. Now, that may be too big a mindset to get out of your heads in 5 minutes, but give it a minute's thought sometime.
Ajustement structurel, c'est le maître mot de la politique de la Banque et du Fonds monétaire international. À Londres ou à Paris, on dirait rigueur ou austérité. Privatisation, réduction des dépenses publiques, priorité aux exportations. En somme, de quoi séduire de providentiels investisseurs. Ce soir-là, Wolfenson rencontre le ministre Mayanja et son secrétaire au Trésor, Emmanuel Tumusimi, ancien étudiant maoïste.
I am not a bankman, as you know, but I have a feeling that there is a lot of pressure on bank staff to create conditions for projects. Mm-hmm. But if you're having a country which has reached an advanced stage of removing the constraints to projects and so forth, these small conditionalities are just a nuisance. But I suspect that staff are promoted on the basis of what they have been able to force governments to do. And that's not a very healthy.
Well, if that is true, it'll change. I hope to God it's not true. If you had said to me they're promoted on the basis of the number of projects they put out, that is a criticism I've heard. So I hope that if you're right, that they are rewarded much like policemen are for the number of tickets they give out, and in your case you're suggesting the number of conditions they get on, I can give you a categoric promise that that'll change. I hope it's not true now, but it will change.
Now, I think a year ago, our debt multilateral was about 2.6, 2.9. It's now about 3 billion, I think, United States dollars. But most of it, yes, is multilateral. And the multilaterals, by their definition, almost they don't appreciate it. They have to be triple A's, whatever. So the charter, as far as I know, makes that necessary. Is there anything you can do, however, so that we don't have, for instance, in a year, to pay back in interest $120 million, yes, about that, sometimes 200. Now that 200 million for Uganda.
It's critically important. Look, the issue of debt is if not the first, it was the second issue I tackled in the bank. Because the debt issue is something that, first of all, I want to take the initiative on. But I recognize that it is an issue of debate and for many countries, and I raise an issue of concern here. We'll deal with it. Now come back with yes, me.
Okay.
But no.
No, 30.
Yeah,
You got, interested in this debt, and they want to make sure properly handled from that. To see me, very on these things, actually is not giving them the straight story.
Why isn't it Zambia's Cameroons on the list?
What the funds is that give a set of assumptions, Uganda is sustained, but very, and then go fragile discussion. And that's also, as it's always been on our list, it is not included in the same prominence on here. When this joke was not included, what I've asked...
Okay, you can't 7% complaining about funding 10 years, 3/4 of 1%. You can't, what talking about? You can't afford, can you afford nothing?
But I explained the story that objections were solving this problem.
By a low road.
He kept saying, he is not interested in signing. And I said, no, not interested. Well, fine. But the last thing I say, this very successful Uganda, we're going to take, we're going to round at 2.8. Thank you very much.
How can we, what the hell about they afford more? We're importing growth of export.
This is a big issue.
The state of it is not what I'm talking about. It's being able to hold on to.
Am I supposed to hear? Am I supposed to cry?
Walker Mellin, Wolf lui a confié de les charger de la dette.
Yes, to Sina, please. Find out who'd call go. Yeah. Him, with Adams.
Okay. Had this peculiar in the fund. The fund's making sure everybody's lined up. I think it's important on this one, given that it's early that we line up. Essentially, we messed back from the fund is all this work. And I just want you guys to manage that. We're not... we want to do it right.
Yeah.
Looking for your guidance.
Maybe I can ask you from a more maybe of fund. How did we perceive the vibes on Uganda? The fund attitude is that they have already two settlers, and they actually told me it will create problem to come the very
has been if they're okay, manageable. I will meet you.
But David, before the debt is stop this falling in trap on a sentence consistent with it. Yeah. Them to say it's coming in the future is not going to buy us. And
we're fighting with them on many other things, and we stopped it. So, but
I know exactly. We're
you take a photo.
Well, they depend on the.
You give me an export growth that provides a level of debt that is in excess of the sustainable level. I take it away from Uganda's book and pay for it. It's grant money, dollar for Uganda. It's no longer numbers.
Jim, hi. How are you? No? How are things? Oh, they're not too bad. There's two big issues, but I can discuss those with you when I see you next week. One's the financial sector. That's still going on. I went to see the minister this afternoon because maybe, because he'll by July the 2nd, it's quite likely the new ministers will have been announced. And he may or may not be. And as we've worked together for nearly 3 years, I thought it would, not that I'm saying goodbye to him, at least I thought I'd just go along and have a chat with him and also try and push him on some of these urgent issues that he's got to face.
Waliwo ekigambo kye bayita modernization president kyeyogera juzi Uganda okuba nga ekola ebintu byayo ku mutindo gw'ensi yonna agamba ki singa mbuuza mmwe kati nabanga mwendi ayambadde ekintu oba kalega oba mpeta oba ngato wakati oba pesa ekiro kyakolera mu Uganda awaliko omukono mulebe mwankana obungi kiraga ki tukyali ki ebyo bye nasoma ebyo bye ndi bitugezaako kukola kakati twagala kunzike yavamu mbuuza kampala bwesi bw'obanga ovuga emmotoka mu buseerezi okyusizayo dereva n'omujamu n'owani kondakita nze mbagambye ekivaamu kuleeta ki ngamba bwe nti 27 mbukeezanga ki saagala galamidde akalulu kaani
Après les présidentielles et législatives. Le ministre des Finances, Mayan John Kanji, est en campagne. Quelle que soit la composition du gouvernement ougandais, la banque appliquera son programme d'ajustement. À commencer par l'UCB, la banque commerciale ougandaise. Sur le papier, l'UCB est en faillite. Elle perd plus d'$1 million par semaine. Pour la Banque mondiale, c'est un cas typique de secteur public à assainir. La privatisation est la solution désormais classique que la banque exige du gouvernement. Jacobs et Adams se sur le président. Situation où le film se mêle de manière...
First of all, to give fire to this trust, which was supposed to arrest this took money to pay. So, what's the point? Why to give fire?
Your Excellency has been raised several times that it's meant today that we the faction. Because we had that actions with it.
No, I wrote a long letter. Might get the month. Yes.
The one we're talking about the largest debtors, and I'm sure they're in Uganda.
But who are those? Who are they? Can I have? Now, they are all banknote. I think this will be forgiven.
This is what inside work, you know.
Yes, because these are the real
state owned working on this. This action in preparation for this privatization, I said, getting so that interest to the hardworking, whatever. I think that just have a real vision on that bank.
So let's say it. And it's the people to struggle with this. No, I understand the Schwader.
Yeah, I'm satisfied.
He isn't so excited with arrival. So probably for us we are not kings.
Alim Stanley, un des spécialistes que l'on a un peu partout pour suivre un dossier. Cette fois, Alim doit mettre la privatisation B. À naviguer entre la banque, cité diplomatique postale.
I think that your mission time is important. I mean, through the, if you like, the financial update or something. Yeah. There will be for the place. And I think may live with some of the previous sorties to deal with the proper same way as your Tanzania. It didn't work. Okay. And there is possibly doubt, nice ways. Advice. I think that we have a difficult meeting coming ahead, but you're right. We certainly should not defend and just feel concerns and then see if we go working in the same direction, even if we have arguments inside.
La banque a demandé à Alim Nombrabant un rapport sur l'UCB.
In tenor, a looming crisis must be changed. Is certainly no loom banking crisis anymore.
I don't think we have said the decision of the fragile budget strategy. Those versions will change. This is in the summary, volume 1?
No, it's paragraph, that's not page, paragraph. Summary, sorry. Uganda's financial sector reform strategy needs to tackle immediately pressing difficulties, such as the threat of bank collapse, the looming crisis of public confidence in the banking system. This is no longer the case. benefits of time, the inflection of time, I think it is inappropriate to characterize the problems at UCB as a lack of commitment to privatization. The president, as you know, the president has several times repeated the government's intention to privatize UCB. Even when UCB management was being allowed the freedom to put their case to the public opposing privatization, the president was always making the case that the government itself was determined to privatize UCB. I think you are not appreciating the consensus building behind economic reforms in Uganda. The government says we are committed to do this, but it sometimes takes time to bring everybody around the table in order to support the privatization. So please, government had never failed to express its commitment to privatize UCB. Thankfully, you are not IMF, so I'm not afraid of being hit on the head by people who believe in theory in spite of what the reality shows.
Oh, bien sûr.
Robert Scharer est chef de la division Afrique orientale du Fonds monétaire international. FMI et Banque mondiale définissent ensemble les programmes de prêt. Les fonctionnaires du FMI ont la réputation d'appliquer leurs dogmes financiers avec une raideur qui ferait passer les hommes de la banque pour des laxistes.
Make resources for substantial increase in wages, education, but it's
one of the down democracy is that politicians meant the electorate and that those elected commit be delivered. I don't simple this situation solution.
The problem can be reduced. The usual managed domain can be solved. This meeting, so I can now make sure there's nothing.
I will make it there. The staff have no with you members whatsoever. Never been in this form, but on where we are. It's so serious.
Yeah.
Cannot underestimate the gravity of it.
For us to put based on my is here in more than 4 years, I'm sure you will have a budget frame. With the president has followed this principle. And on relative point on coffee tax, in the current might be a good idea to threshold further.
We have put that. We have promised. First of all, I know this was the government, and some of your people didn't. It was a good idea.
People were there. Always found a good idea, right?
World Bank.
They negotiate.
Brethren Woods.
No.
Brethren
Secretary, quite clear. I think I was quite clear along with this. The fund was firmly.
I think the race signals to investment industry, and I think of that definitely as a disincentive to invest.
Very strong. We've had extensive coffee sector this issue which came early, but about coffee volume as substantial.
What you are seeing struggling from neighboring all the new investment shown in a mission.
Why would there be
ability here prices
to become
a
little evidence of Rwanda, which is all around in.
But to share a bit on that, I know I'm here. I'm from Kabale, where they're to the borders.
I'm upset. Right. I'm on share places under demands. I would like to sit with the chair and with the resident to say this nonsense cannot. I can't. It's just pressure.
We have balance, whether we like organizations and that, okay, live together. They're concerned. They're very about the sector, as we all are. They do party to the discussion that are going on.
This is nonsense. If you can't go and you're putting that I'm this thing, I can't carry out my responsibilities. I feel unreasonable.
Right, you finished?
Yes, I have that.
Okay. There are issues which are very important to this country, and I don't give a tinker's cuss about personalities in it, okay? I keep trying to get this across to you, okay? I'm not blaming you, okay? I'm trying to make you aware that we have to take these out of play. You're having a bad time. You're being chased by the government on the green sector. You had a battering there, okay? You're obviously...
And no one stood up for me. No one.
You're obviously not in an emotional state to listen, Ben, okay? Just tell me what you would like me to do as the res rep, okay? And we'll cut the conversation quickly, okay?
We don't know anything about your views or what your thoughts are or your priorities. They're absolutely
No,
zero.
I told us one day.
And we come here in the
We have several lengthy meetings with journalists.
Yeah.
Let's all try better in Washington.
Yeah, not only us,
Two big
but
organizations.
also the UTC shop. And
That's true, yeah.
It's more a question of having we'll be able to better understand it. Because when we have no restrictions there, and we always send copies to all three of you.
No restrictions either. Let's say we
So
send
is there a
bank.
yeah, I think it would be very useful.
Point taken, let's make a bigger effort in Washington. Let's just send more copies of more things to everybody at the risk of overdoing it. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Washington, septembre 1996. Pour que la réduction de la dette se justifie aux yeux des bailleurs de fonds, la banque et le FMI réclament des résultats économiques, mais pas les mêmes. L'Ouganda ne doit être ni trop riche, ni trop pauvre.
I noticed great optimism at the end of your back to office report.
Not so.
You guys,
Not
you're under
so.
an instruction to save gold. Come on.
Not so. I mean, look, we are where we are with the debt initiative, and I think if there's something going, we should assist Uganda to get it. The fact is that their exports are doing very, very well, and we've always been very, very cautious in this area.
Insane,
And
right.
these, no. This is.
You don't want to start a fight. I want to start a fight.
Okay.
I was here. We accused him of being a bloody optimist.
There's one correction in his office report.
No, don't tell me there's a modest correction and they've still increased. But the export side is that
No, it
robust.
says,
right?
you wanted to pick a fight, so let me finish. Huh? I'm not saying that it is a wrong projection. I'm just saying that we have to look at it more carefully. From my side,
my friend,
we have not agreed. No, but let me finish.
No, I'm not worried
Let me
about
finish.
you. Wait.
But
Let's get the record
in
right.
the case of coffee that you are talking, for example, I mean, if I follow your growth rates from here, you will be producing over 4 million bags in maybe 3, 4, 5 years at the most. Which is something that Uganda has never produced before.
Exporters told us next year. We had.
No, but just one.
Wait. We're talking about actuals. No, actuals are
very important.
pretty weak bullshit. They're
Actually,
Yes.
somebody
And
that
then we
we don't have.
You have some pessimism.
No,
If we don't, coffee is important. If there's this nation, I think it's not to them to figure out what can be done to either question, qualify, or reinforce these numbers. So there's no more questions. If we have a suggestion, if we have somebody who we can send out who can count the number of bags, that's fair game.
That have actually happened.
Uganda is fragile, we're not,
We've been through this.
etc.
That's
We
my
can be
point.
more cautious on the
I
projections.
just want to have.
What we've done here is a.
I want to have a framework where we're both giving consistent messages. I think then we go into the subsequent discussion a lot more comfortable with what we're doing. That's right. And I look, if the 3.5 is right, the 3.5% growth, and you're right, Uganda's going to get a lot less money. But the bottom line is that Uganda doesn't need a lot more money.
That's right.
Okay, but look, my point on this is not a problem between us at the country level. It's to get clear.
Absolutely.
Thank you, as always. A pleasure.
Alim, you idiot!
It's an amazing. I've never seen anybody talking so much.
You grab it so much. Well, after you won a two-set game. Good one. Game. Who's serving you or what?
Il se joue pour l'Ouganda, qui avec le pilotage à la privative CB.
You said you didn't have final No, an official report.
Official copy from us. This received it.
Okay.
I understand from felt that been a subset that you requested.
The mean that this shown X3 here, the
Change in management.
managed should he had probably delete this report. So it's given the opportunity to it separately president, who actually am an official. When I told them and they delete they down.
You know that Morgan Smith had received that because, okay, what is the down version?
Anglaise, Morgan Grenfell, battue par la Banque mondiale par l'Ouganda, est chargée de plan de privatisation. Elle a conclu à l'aide de limoges directeur de l'USA. Problème de poder.
One, which is more critical. And at the head, it should also be purpose of between forceful fix mission would probably be who would take the goal is foremost that one. This whole
How is it going to be to move Surma? Is that going to
move? If we rocket or this is something that you can move. That's unfortunately.
No, I don't have the point. That's why
you want to find a problem. But definitely you'll have if this visit you'll have it took to remove the MDUEB, I think, but eventually it happened.
If in by the diction requires UCB met, this is just a gimmick seen as hardly on everyone.
I don't like ourselves in the central bank. We say think when what to stick in terms of their appointment.
UCB was our job to sell it, as it advised the government to sell it. And the day government has action, it's not step into that.
Maybe there are alternatives to this. What are the alternative changes?
Changes isn't going to be still going to be a deal. If you don't do this, then I think you can confess. I mean, we're not saying that it's impossible. We still may be able to find, but to be trying to negotiating the sale when you have to really give and support of the head guys at the bank is it's a bit of.
If on that management already taken it, the move of management. You are like, and not small people. In fact, I only had this morning. Changement. I hear that he.
Answer is no.
The answer is no. Promoter. I didn't see from it. I just came to me with it. Yeah. So you can see. That's why for me, I'm questioning what has been with it. Absolute confidentiality. Other, they, what he said easily be, exploded on the street. And then save so and so in a job. There's nothing in this.
Dans le dossier de la banque, part du directeur Suruma vaut quelques millions de dollars de prêt.
We've been patient. We don't know when you're going to finally take some decisive measures. We are waiting.
Dr. Surma, as you know, it's the government that has to decide. The bank is the bank can advise, and we have to be, we are partners in development, so we can advise and discuss and agree things. At the end of the day, this is something the government has decided. It's a government issue.
The second tranche of FSAC ever been released?
No, it hasn't been released. So this is one of the things that is required is that UCB be put up for sale, and that's what we've been. What has been now the last.
Conditionality. It was not in the original agreement as a condition.
No, it was it's a legal condition. And as you say, you've been continuing your efforts to restructure the bank, which you feel as management is essential. We have, as I indicated to you a year ago, we had full confidence in your I think the plans and your capacity available within the UCB to continue with those plans. We didn't. The only difference was that while that was going on, the privatization step should not be delayed until after that. That it should take place. Now, as it has happened, it has taken almost a year since that decision was made to come to this point where now UCB is close to be putting up for sale. So,
You want to join the others? I understand you have.
yeah, I
some
have a
colleagues.
couple of other colleagues. Yes, that we can want to bring them over here, or we can go to the boardroom and talk about
I have asked my staff to come also. So maybe we need a bigger space. Yeah. So you're most welcome, Mr. Lim, and your team. We always enjoy having discussions with you and always learn a lot. I'm sure this will be no exception.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. I look forward to this discussion and further interactions during this mission with you.
Agnes, is FMI done then? 106, thank you. Fanaline, this is Brian Faulkner calling you. I'm in my office, dear boy. I know, I've been hearing. Would you like to come on down and let me know about the meeting? Thanks.
Hi.
Hello, FM.
I was news for you.
Yes.
Well, you'll be pleased to hear. It appears that a decision was made yesterday in meetings between the Minister of Finance, Minister Kakere, Timisimi, the President, and who else was there, that they will accept Morgan Grenfell's recommendation to change top management at UCB, and this will involve removing Dr. Suruma as of Tuesday or Wednesday next week. And the minister was worried still that about the consequences.
Yeah.
Particularly the felt that I think he felt that the issue is one of that he felt that they were to some extent being pressurized.
But did they feel that we have been using Morgan Grenfell to make those recommendations?
I told him also maybe we have said in the tone, or maybe we have said it, we may have come over strong, but we have also said to you very clearly, look, we are mentioning this, we leave it to you to make the decision. But it's very important you're aware of it.
I realise that, yeah. Well done. Congratulations. And, look forward to the sale notice going up.
Washington. Retour de Nawal Kamel au quartier général, après l'assemblée annuelle de la banque, centrée sur la question de la dette.
Hi, everybody. Well, went very well. Oh my God, so it was fantastic. Wonderful. And Wolfenson stood for it, and no way. Good. So well, that's we got it. And everybody consensus. No one single, hesitation.
Mr. Wolfenson?
I'm very happy to join with Mr. Kabaj in bringing to you the fact that we reached agreement today, and of course all of us at the bank are very, very happy indeed and very proud of the partnership we've had with the Monetary Fund. I think this is a breakthrough. It's the first time that there is a methodology of dealing with debt in a comprehensive way. Let me announce the next steps that have been agreed today. The World Bank will establish and manage a trust fund to deliver the debt relief for those countries. This trust fund could also be the principal vehicle for participation of other multilateral development banks in the initiative and a focal point for donor contributions towards the debt relief. I've already indicated that as an indication of our resolve to support this initiative that the bank has committed $500 million that will be transferred to this trust fund. And once we get in motion, and as the need arises, I would propose to recommend to our board contributions from our net income that would be required to meet our proportional share of any debt relief. All in all, I think we've had a wonderful morning. I think it's very good news for the poor of the world, and all of us at the bank look forward to working constructively on the individual cases with which we will deal almost immediately.
Right, it's too far. It's a long way away. A long way away. We got to start soon. Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, now the hard part begins, Noah. The really hard part.
Bye.
Il aura fallu 2 ans pour que l'initiative autour de la dette aboutisse. Le Fonds monétaire international, de son côté, exigera une année supplémentaire pour faire avancer les ajustements structurels. Pour alléger sa dette, l'Ouganda recevra chaque année 30 millions de dollars, moins que prévu et plus tard que prévu. Dans le nord du pays, la rébellion continue à tuer. À la frontière avec l'ex-Zaïre, affluent des soldats en déroute. L'armée de Museveni doit désormais tenir plusieurs fronts. Malgré la résistance du Parlement ougandais, 49% de l'UCB seront finalement cédés à une société financière de Malaisie. L'assainissement de la situation a permis à la Banque mondiale de doubler son programme de prêt à l'Ouganda. Ainsi, la dette se renouvelle.